Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All today's guests, including Ian Furness, standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort, located oceanside in beautiful Parksville. The Bayside is one of Vancouver Island's premier getaway spots. Looking for a winter getaway? Well, stay at the Bayside in December or January and get, are you ready? We should have a drum roll for this, honestly, Ryan.
Right.
25% off your nightly room rate by mentioning Donnie and Dolly. Book your island getaway today. That's well-timed, Ryan. Thanks for that. Book your... Done? Book your island getaway today at BaysideOceanfrontResort.com or call 250-248-8333. You're about 12 seconds behind there. I think 13. But I thank you for coming up with the drum roll sound effect. Ian Furness joining us now from KJR Sports Radio in Seattle. He was watching the Canucks game last night. Ian, your thoughts? Did you turn it off by any chance?
Well-oiled machine, by the way, Ryan. Well-oiled fella. Yeah. My goodness. First of all, how are you guys doing after that? I mean, you're going to fire Boudreau's getting fired after 20 minutes, right? That was a done deal. And then probably with 3 minutes to go and the Habs took the lead again, I did turn it off. I will admit that. I'm not going to be that guy. I did turn it off. I was bummed because, probably like all three of us, all four of us, Ryan included, right? You get home and it's like, what's on TV tonight, sports-wise?
Yeah.
And I got Saints Bucks. Ended up being a good game.
Yeah,
ended up being a good game. Perfect. Flip it over. I grew up a Montreal Canadiens and a Vancouver Canucks fan. Flip it over. Watch that matchup. By the time I flipped it over, there it is, 4-0. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. 4-0. And I watched about 2 minutes of the second period, and then I shut her down. And then I flipped it. I did go back upstairs. I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I look on Twitter, and I see all the tweets of this game's insane. What's going on? This game is drunk, and I ended up watching the last couple minutes in overtime. So, not a trip by the way. Just the guy lost his edge.
Yeah, there you go. So you agree with Rick and I, and to your defense, to the defense of a lot of people, although I didn't turn it off. The comeback didn't start till late in the second period for the Canucks. It was deep into the game. It was pretty unusual. Shane Wright gets, as we talk about the Kraken now, Shane Wright gets recalled from the American Hockey League. Kraken's plans for him going forward, because, of course, people are interested in what's happening with Canada's World Junior team.
Well, it's interesting. I'm thinking of you guys. I did a show last Wednesday, I guess, out at the Kraken at the practice rink, as I like to call it. They have another name for it, but their practice rink. And I had Ron Francis, Dave Haxtell both on at the same time, sitting down with us. And Ron Francis, I'm not sure if there's a GM in the league that plays it more close to the vest than this guy. Maybe Lamoriello, but he didn't say he's going to World Juniors, but it sure, every indication is he will go to World Juniors. They had to recall him from the AHL. His conditioning stint was up. He's in the lineup tonight against Montreal. I think the camp starts, is it Friday, Saturday, guys? Is that when the camp starts for World Juniors? He'll go play, and then they'll bring him back and see what he does the rest of the season. Geeky's been banged up a little bit, so they are missing at times a center on that fourth line. There seems to be a fit there, but there's no indication that he won't go play in World Juniors. I got that impression, with the context of the conversation between Francis Haxtell and myself last Wednesday.
Yep. Okay, well, let's talk about this Kraken team. They had their 7-game winning streak snapped the other night, and the old problem they have there is penalty killing, 3 power play goals by Florida. But, what's the feel? Ian, last year we expansion team and, the whole 9 yards. They're one of the hottest teams I think they're 6th overall in the NHL. Are the people of Seattle noticing in your eyes?
Yeah, I think before Saturday, we're 4th in terms of points per game, right? So, you could make that argument they're the 4th best team. They are. It's hard for them because here's the problem: the Seahawks are so good, right? That's it. And that overshadows everything in our market. Now that will end sometime in January, and there's no indication this team's going away anywhere. I mean, that game Saturday was we can get to the power play or the penalty kill if you want, but this team can score with anybody. Yes. I mean, they can get up and down the ice and they can score, and their depth. We talked about it, I think, last week. They can score. That will allow them to be in a lot of games this season. Heck, we saw that with the Kings game last week. That was insane, right? So I think that was the last Tuesday, right after we talked to you guys. But they can score with anybody. They'll be in it all year. I think you'll see some momentum. You certainly feel it in the building. There's no doubt about that. There's less empty seats now than there were at the end of last season, even though games are technically sold out, right? But you're feeling it. But I think with the Seahawks, and then the Huskies have success, and their quarterback's coming back next year. So I don't want to say they get lost in the shuffle, but they're not at the top of the fold of the sports page right now. They're still, bottom third, but that will change probably after the first of the year.
I got a feeling the first big hockey contract in Seattle is going to be a kid named Matty Beniers. Boy, when his entry-level deal's over, I think Pat Brisson's going to have a good time redoing that deal. Leads all rookies in the NHL, 21 points, 24 games, just had his 6-game point scoring streak. Tell me about this kid. What is he, 19, 20? What a bright future he has.
Just turned 20. Yep. It's odd when I was talking to those guys last week. It feels like he's been here forever, but he wasn't here last year. He was at Michigan. He came back for the final 10 games of the season, and there's no Horvat Besser debate here about what you do to sign him. JT Miller. There's no number 2 here. He's the guy. He's the man. I mean, Burakovsky got signed in the offseason. He's been, I think, better than they even probably had hoped. But Beniers is the future of this franchise. They hope Wright will be the next part of that piece. But Matty Beniers is he's special. He really is special, guys. And I thought at one point, I kind of felt at one point he was sort of Barzell-like when Barzell was, well, he's been better lately, right? But you know how he always finds the open ice, and sports are pretty simple. Doesn't matter. It's football, basketball, hockey, soccer. It's space, right? Space and time. And the ability to find space and time. Beniers just has it. It felt like he's kind of gliding half the time, but he can get up and go. He's a better finisher than Barzell, I think. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's got an innate hockey sense, and he's playing with some really good players too. So he's fun to watch. And having a guy like that in the fold for the next few years and probably for a long time to come is pretty exciting for Seattle hockey fans.
Big time.
Seahawks, speaking of comebacks, the Canucks come back last night. They beat the Rams 27-23. First of all, one of the most impressive players for the Seahawks so far this year has been the running back Kenneth Walker. An update on his health.
It was odd, Donnie. We sat up. Usually when a guy gets hurt, he gets hurt, right? Like he's banged up. Like trainers come see him on the field, and there was an oddity in that game where we didn't see it in the press box, but it was on TV. There was like a little bit of a conversation, a heated conversation, right, with Geno Smith and Ken Walker. And then the next series, Walker's still on the bench. And, from my vantage point, looking down to my left from up high, I think that's Walker on the bench. And it looked like from far away, I should probably invest in binoculars at some point, I guess. But it looked like he was talking to the training staff, and a bunch of us up there were all looking, and he's talking to the trainer, the doctor that we know, and he was on the bench. So it was odd that he was hurt. Like he never looked like he's hurt. He walked to the dressing room at halftime, didn't have a limp according to our photographer, but they said he did something to his ankle. It wasn't a sprain, it was a strain. I don't know what that is, but what ended up happening, because they're already out without Travis Homer. DJ Dallas hurt his lower calf, upper ankle. He was banged up. They were down to Tony Jones Jr., who was their 4th-string running back, guy that's been kind of up and down on the roster, off the roster all year. They were down to one running back. Dallas did play 1 snap or 2 snaps in that final drive. I don't know how he did it, because he could barely walk out of the building at the end of the day. And Walker didn't seem to be that banged up as much as we thought, but it's just I would just say it's one of those. I'd chalk it up to one of those oddities injury wise. It didn't quite add up. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, and so you alluded to this, and it was all over the place on the broadcast. But what did you make of that argument between? It looked like an argument between Kenneth Walker and Geno Smith, because from the outside looking in, you're obviously much closer to the team,
right?
But I mean, Geno Smith has saved their season, and he's a veteran. And is Kenneth Walker a rookie? That didn't look right. What was your take?
No, it didn't look right. I would chalk it up to this. There's the one criticism of Walker this season, and we're too deep into it to have this part be an issue anymore. But there's been times when he's supposed to go left, he goes right. He's supposed to go right, he goes left. A gap, B gap. Whatever. And so I think being really comfortable with what they're doing offensively. I'm guessing. My guess is. Nobody really kind of talked about it. They kind of downplayed it, but I'm guessing what ended up happening was he probably, zigged instead of zagged, and Geno probably called him out on it. And here's the problem. first of all, that happens all the time in the NFL. Like we saw the famous thing with Russell last week, right? I can't tell you how many times we've had guys mic'd up and there has been like a massive altercation on the sideline verbally that never gets reported, never gets talked about. It happens all the time in the heat of the moment. I'm sure it happens in almost all sports. But that one was captured on camera. Yeah. It wasn't that big of a deal. Gino's got such juice. If it was Russell or somebody who didn't have the respect of his teammates, that'd be a concern. Everyone's going to have Gino's back. Ken Walker's a pretty good kid. I'm sure he realized, I'm guessing that it was his mistake in the end.
Happens in every sport, happens in every place of work. You should see us. I mean, we
get it
battle
up, Ryan.
all
Let's
the time.
Go. Get it up. Ryan,
every day. Get it up. Every day.
Get it up. Get it up. Let's go.
Get it up.
Get it up. Let's go. Well, listen, man, you guys have your own issues up there. I mean, I heard you the other day. I mean, you're debating whether or not the third leading scorer in the NHL is helping this hockey team. I mean, my gosh. What is going on up there? What is going on up there?
Oh, Bo Horvat, 20 goals is a positive story for the Vancouver Canucks. Thank you, Ian.
No, I'm talking about the whole picture for the organization.
No, Donnie, you know what this is? I when I listened to it, I felt what you were saying. This is where Canuck fans and Mariner fans are a kindred spirit. They're together as one. Mm-hmm. When Felix Hernandez won the Cy Young, everyone in Seattle went, wow, that's great, he won the Cy Young, but damn, that's going to cost us money. He's going to go to the Yankees. It's a bad thing. Like, good success for that guy with that franchise means bad things. Canucks, Mariners, they're the same. They're exactly the same. I know the feeling. If something good happens with the Mariners, we always look to what will be bad afterwards as a result. That is the same as the Canucks. You guys are exactly the same as Mariner fans. I know it because I lived both fan bases growing up. I know it. I'm with you. And Donnie, I've been a fan forever, too. They got to win a Stanley Cup someday, buddy. They got to win a Stanley Cup.
Well, I know they're going to win one someday. The question is, will I be alive to see it? Right?
Well, and I'm wondering, I'm not that far behind you, buddy. Like, I'm not that far behind you. Like, when the shovel hits the ground, I might be right next to you, sir.
Yeah, I'll look into side-by-side plots after the show. Ian, thanks for this.
Thanks, boys. See ya.
Okay.